Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Checkers or Wreckers podcast. I am your host, and the only one here, Carter Leonard. Oh, man. Another week of yours truly running the show. Just can't wait till my interns decide to call me back and get on the show again. Everybody's been busy lately, but I'm here to bring you this podcast because we stay on that grind, ladies and gentlemen, at this show. Like we don't mess around. We're not lazy. I mean, to be fair, I have missed a couple weeks where I didn't record an episode, but hey, we all make mistakes. Albert Einstein, he failed on a few equations, but hey, that's all good. But welcome to another episode, ladies and gentlemen. It is episode, as you can see on your screen, it is episode 13 of season 1, ladies and gentlemen. And today, I'm here to give you the recap and what's been going on in the world of NASCAR of this week. So sit back and enjoy the show, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go. Let's start off with our first topic of the show, and that is the weekend recap of the races this past weekend. NASCAR made its one and only annual trip to Dover Motor Speedway in Dover, Delaware. ARCA made its trip, Xfinity and Cup as well. So let's get into the main races, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start off with the Xfinity Series race. To a very big surprise, if I have to say, Ryan Truex picks up his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series win for Joe Gibbs Racing in the 19. Now, this isn't the first time that Ryan Truex has came close to winning at Dover. If you remember the infamous 2012 Dover race where he came oh so close but yet so far to winning that race. But it only took him about 11 years later to finally get his redemption, but he got it when it mattered most. Low-key, I didn't expect this coming. Ryan Truex have been scheduled to do races this year for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. He has a 6-race schedule. If I remember correctly, he still has 2 more races on his current Xfinity Series schedule. And he's so far made the most of his schedule, if I had to say. He's been running up inside the top 5 in some races. He even finished runner-up to Sammy Smith at Phoenix, I believe it was. So that was, he's been so far really impressive, if I have to say, with his only few starts in the Xfinity Series because of the fact of, we don't really look at Ryan Truex as like one of those, big up-and-coming superstars like we used to back a decade ago. But we always appreciated how serviceable of a driver he is, and he showed today that he's just a little bit more than that. Not today, I should say, but he showed why he can be in the series. He proved that he can run in the series and win in the series, and he did just that. I don't know if he would ever get a full-time ride with any, not just Joe Gibbs Racing, but with any team looking to be available. But, let's just say Ryan Truex proved us all wrong, and he can win the Xfinity Series. So, congrats to Ryan Truex. Even he went as far as to say let me hold up. I'm kind of spewing nonsense here. I'm going 1,000 miles per hour right now. After the win, Ryan Truex even created his own merchandise after the win. Now, it's not the typical race win merchandise t-shirts that you would think of, but it's more of stick figures, which I find hilarious, and it says, "Yay, Ryan, you did it," or "Go Ryan" on it. So, really brilliant marketing from Ryan Truex. Congrats to him, as, he's been an underdog in the sport for a while, and he, quite frankly, deserves it. So, who knows? Maybe he might get a full-time ride somewhere. Maybe with Joe Gibbs Racing, maybe with Sam Hunt, maybe with someone else. Who knows? Maybe someone out there is looking at this driver and seeing the potential that he has. Now moving on to the Cup Series race. Now this would not be the last time that we would hear the name Truex. Now I would say the next day, however, but as always with any Dover race, especially when it's in the spring, it normally rains and it's pushed to a Monday. But hey, I watched some of it during school, so not like it matters anyway. So, um, but Martin Truex Jr., the winless streak, finally over. After 54 races without winning a race, his last win coming at the 2021 Fall Richmond race in the playoffs, Martin Truex Jr. finally gets it done at a track that he's very familiar at Dover. This is his fourth Dover win in his career, and it's the same track where he got his first career win at DEI. But going into this win, let's take a step back for a second and really look at what Martin Truex Jr.'s past year plus this year's been. Obviously, we all know in 2022 he went winless and missed the playoffs. However, despite all of that, he didn't really have a completely terrible season. Simply because of the fact that, well, he was still running up front and he was still contending for wins. So it's not like he was completely, garbage or trash. I hate to say those words, but, it's the best way to describe them. He still finished top 5 in points, and even last year, we were even considering Truex possibly being out the door in retirement, but Truex said, no, we've ran so good that I'm not done. I don't want to quit just yet, and Truex proved that this 19 team still has speed. Earlier this year, they won the Busch Light Clash, and although it's the Clash, we kind of thought in our heads, we even predicted in the show that Martin Truex Jr. might possibly have a rebound season, and I think he's kind of proving just that. A win definitely helps, but it's been kind of shaky so far. He's been running decent here and there, but yeah, he locked himself in the playoffs. By the way, fun fact, 3 of Martin Truex Jr.'s 4 Dover wins have all come on a Monday. His first win in 2007, his third win at the track in 2019, and yeah, just this past Monday in 2023. So if your Dover race is canceled and it's placed on a Monday and Martin Truex Jr. is in the field, there's a good chance you might want to bet on him. But anyways, congrats to Martin Truex Jr. and the 19 team, James Small, and the whole entire team at Joe Gibbs Racing and Bass Pro Shops for their win. They have finally got over the hump, and they have officially locked themselves into the playoffs. Overall, the weekend in Dover was pretty typical. I will say that. It wasn't a bad race, but actually, you know what? For a Dover race, which when we think of exciting racing, Dover is not necessarily the first track that we think of in our heads. But the race was actually not that bad, and it was actually very watchable. There was some passing, and there was some action. There was a lot of action, actually. Kyle Busch got the pole after qualifying was rained out, so it went off a provisional starting point. So, and he even led the first 25 laps of the race until he got a speeding penalty. I don't know what it is with Kyle Busch this year with speeding penalties, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's the driver with the most penalties regarding the speeding on pit road. If it isn't, then I don't know who else is. But, yeah, and he was never able to recover from that. Actually, he was making his way back up to the field, considering that it was still an early part of the race, until a crash involving drivers like Daniel Suarez and Ty Dillon happened, and he got a piece of nose damage, and Randall Burnett had some bad strategy that left him out on tires, and he just never recovered from that since and came home 21st. Not a great day for some, but some other drivers it was good for others. So, yeah. Hell, even RFK. By the way, can we talk about RFK racing for a second this year? Because I've seen a lot of people on social media as of these past few days talk about what a turnaround season it's been for RFK racing so far, especially the 6-car Brad Keselowski, because if you look at from what they were at last year to where they are now, it's completely different. First of all, you don't have that big 100-point penalty at the beginning of the year, so, that's something. That literally killed the 6-car season last year. But we got to ask ourselves what's changed. While they have not been the victory lane yet, you could see the 6 and 17 car really start to run consistent. Mainly the 6 car. I think Brad Keselowski is due to get back in the victory lane. Simply because of the fact of he's shown a lot of good speed this year, not only at like super speedways like Daytona, Atlanta, and Talladega, but he's also shown speeds on like intermediate tracks, Auto Club, Las Vegas, Phoenix. He's shown speed pretty much everywhere, and it would not shock me if Brad Keselowski sneaks into the playoffs this year for the first time since 2021, where he's actually won a race back then. So, yeah, so far he's been having a really solid season, and the whole entire organization of RFK Racing has done a really good job. So props to them, really. And another driver we got to shout out is Ty Gibbs, especially for his rookie campaign, which I wasn't really expecting much. It seems that he gets better and better each and every race. He had that top 10 stretch with 4 top 10s where it was at 4 different tracks, 4 different types of pavements too. He ran up front at Talladega, which I don't want to consider Ty Gibbs a plate racer, but he was up at the front, contending for the win with just only a handful of laps remaining. Also, he was running up at the top 5 of Dover. However, he was so short on fuel that he wouldn't be able to get a top 5 or top 10. He ended up finishing 13th, which I really don't think that should dictate how good Ty Gibbs has actually ran so far this year. It would not shock me if Ty Gibbs goes to victory line. I feel like that with each and every race that we go to, Ty Gibbs is getting better and better. Already the clear-cut favorite to win the championship. Not the championship, but the... not yet. I mean, well, who knows? I mean, anything can happen. But, no, the championship. I meant to say Rookie of the Year. He's already a clear-cut favorite to win Rookie of the Year. So, but, yeah, props. Shout out to all the drivers and teams that I mentioned who have done a really good job so far this year. So, keep it up, guys. Now, I would end the discussion about the Dover race there, but I feel like it's time that we talk about Ross Chastain again. Now, I know that Ross Chastain has been, for the past year and a half, he's been getting into some very sticky situations. Some of them are his fault, some of them aren't. But this time, it was his fault. And it was just only a few weeks ago after the Richmond race that we were kind of making fun or like poking fun at Ross Chastain because we proclaimed everything was his fault. Oh my God, the volcano eruption. Oh yeah, that was all we blamed that on Ross Chastain. Oh, the invention of Hidden Valley Ranch ice cream. I'm just making it up, but you get the whole idea. We've already talked about the Ross Chastain memes on this channel. I don't think we really need to go through them again. But this time, it was his fault. If you weren't aware or you did not see any highlights of the race, there was an incident early involved in the race where Ross Chastain got into the back of the 15 of Brendan Poole and sent him around. And see, this wouldn't be a big deal had it not been for the fact that while he was spinning, Kyle Larson in the 5, who looked to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to probably win this past weekend's race at Dover, got involved in this wreck and pretty much ended his day or ended his chances of winning the race. I'll get back to Larson here in a second. But, there is no reason to literally be aggressive that early in the race, especially with a back marker car. Literally. The 15 car for Rick Ware Racing, and you just dump it. You couldn't just go around it when you clearly have the faster car. I get it. I hate hearing the people who say, this is who he is. He's always going to be an aggressive driver. while I understand that, I'm here to tell everybody, not everyone is going to like it. We'll accept it. Doesn't mean we have to always like it. In this case, we didn't like it. We didn't. Like I said, there is literally, and I mean literally, no reason why he should be doing that early in the race. I don't really remember what lap it was, so to speak, but it still doesn't change the fact, or it doesn't change the fact that he was in the wrong for doing that. Even Brennan Poole came out and did his post-race interview saying that, oh, I think he needs his butt whipped. And you know what? As much as I don't like seeing altercations that much, not just in NASCAR but in real life, I wouldn't necessarily say that Brendan Poole is entirely wrong. Now, like I said, in all fairness, not every thing that Ross Chastain is involved in is always his fault. But when it is his fault, we will call him out on it. And this right here, like I said before, is no different. So, if Ross Chastain does this again, I wouldn't be surprised, especially if he did it to the wrong type of person. I would not be surprised if he got his ass whooped. And don't get me wrong, I really like Ross Chastain. I think he's a fantastic driver. I think he's very aggressive. I think he's got a long future ahead in the sport. But there's just some things that you can and can't do, especially when you're in the top series in in the biggest motorsport in America. There's just some things you can do and there's just some things you can't do. And I see a lot of people defending this move right here. People calling other fans crybabies because they don't like the aggressive driving, this, and that. But when it happens to your driver, all of a sudden, it's an issue. Yeah, this whole thing is not really adding up. If I had to be frank with you, it's not really adding up. And I don't see how it is. So, yeah. Ross Chastain, I like you, man, but please don't do that again. For all the love that's holy, please. I don't want to see another incident this year and it has Ross Chastain's name on it. Not only the fact that I want him to keep himself out of trouble, but the fact is I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. And it's stupid. So, yeah, there's that. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about Dover. I mean, not only was it the whole weekend recap that I just discussed, but it was also some of the incidents and some good runs ran by teams who are starting to make an impact this season. So, yeah, hopefully the next week is just as eventful. Let's just say that. All right, now moving on to the next topic of the show, and it is regarding silly season. And it's the first big silly season rumor, and it's regarding the 4-car. Obviously, Kevin Harvick is retiring at the end of this year, final year in the Cup Series. And the question that the whole entire NASCAR world has been wondering, who will take over the number 4 spot for Stewart-Haas Racing next year? It is the top ride in all of free agency, and we've been wondering who's going to take it. Well, if you told me at the beginning of the year that Josh Berry was the lead candidate, or is going to be the lead candidate, to drive the number 4 car for Stewart-Haas Racing in 2024, I would have said you were out of your mind insane because, one, listen, I like Josh Berry a lot, but I didn't really see him as the driver who was ever going to really get a full-time run at Cup. Not because of the fact that he doesn't have talent or he doesn't have funny. It's because I just didn't think that he really wanted to. There was the whole rumors of, oh, Junior Motorsports might go to the Cup Series and Josh Berry might tag along, but that never really translated. It never really, you know, it never really transferred to that, if you want me to be quite frank with you. So, yeah, that's the way I definitely see it. But no, going back to the whole Josh Berry to SHR rumors. So it's been reported since kind of last week that even Larry McReynolds, America's crew chief on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, said that Josh Berry has a Cup Series deal already lined up for 2024 and is planning to announce it during the Coke 600 weekend, if I recall correctly. That's only about a few races from now because we have Kansas this week, Darlington next, the North Wilkesboro All-Star race, and then we go to the Coke 600. But here's my whole thing with this. When we were talking about potential candidates to drive for SHR next year, my first thought of, or driver that I would think of, was Zane Smith. Technically Zane Smith should have already been in Cup by now. Keep in mind, he had a contract signed with Chip Ganassi Racing to drive the one car in 2022 before Chip Ganassi Racing decided to cease operations entirely in the Cup Series and sold the rest of their assets to Trackhouse. So he stayed in the Truck Series for about 2 more years. He signs with Ford and Front Row Motorsports, goes on, wins the title in 2022, and is looking to do the same again this year, already looking like the title favorite and the current points leader. That's what I thought, because he's a Ford driver. He brings somewhat of fun in. He has WellCare and all those other health sponsors. Speedco. Loves is mainly a Front Row Motorsports sponsor, but he definitely has enough backing from that sponsor. So I initially thought that it was going to be Zane Smith in the 4-car. Well, I guess things have changed, and Josh Berry is the new favorite. But you gotta have to ask yourself what changed. Well, basically, when Chase Elliott and now currently Alex Bowman are out due to injuries, Josh Berry happily filled in. And let's just say Josh Berry starts in the Cup Series, where something to keep an eye on, especially his second place finish at Richmond, which no one saw coming. He finished second to his Hendrick affiliated teammate. Well, not affiliated, but affiliated from different series. You get the whole idea. He finished second to Kyle Larson, and that was the most impressive run of that race. And quite frankly, it was a run that no one saw coming. And I believe that caught the attention of Tony Stewart and Gene Haas and all the fine folks at Stewart Haas Racing, says, hey, you know what? We should give Josh Berry a chance in our car. I think he'd do well. He would obviously be a Ford driver if that was the case. And to make things very interesting, for people who are probably still denying this, saying, no, he would never go to SHR. He would never go there. He's a Chevy driver. Junior would never let him go. Well, to make things more interesting, it was reported last night by Adam Stern saying that Josh Berry had been signed by KHI Management. For people who don't know what that is Kevin Harvick's driver agency, a current Stewart Haas Racing driver. And it's not even that. They have signed a lot of drivers. They have signed drivers like Ryan Preece, and hell, even young prospect in ARCA, William Sawalich. Yeah, don't say that Kevin Harvick Incorporated has not signed a lot of major talent before, because guess what? They have. And I think Josh Berry is no different. But this could not mean anything, but I think it's really starting to piece together everything. If I had to bet my money right now, I think the 4 car is Josh Berry's ride to lose. This is an absolute bombshell when it comes to silly season. I would have never thought in a million years that Josh Berry would now be the new owner. Now it's not confirmed as of right now. We may have to wait a few weeks before that happens. But this is truly shocking. I totally did not see this coming. On some Stephen A. Smith shit. I did not see this coming. It's like, no, that was pretty cringy. But anyways, no, I honestly did not see this coming. I feel like I don't know what Tony Stewart and Stewart House Racing saw in those part-time starts. But whatever they did see, they saw something that we don't, and who knows? Josh Berry could be a potential future superstar. Now, Josh Berry, not one of the older prospects in the sport. He is currently 32 as of right now. He's been in the late model scene for a while. We've seen what he's done in the Xfinity Series. His first full-time year, even, he went to the championship for. And although Junior Motorsports has pretty much struggled in the Xfinity this year, he's still been a consistent driver. He's been, I believe, top 5 in points so far. So I would have to check again. I'm not sure. Hold on. I will look at that. Just give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking on the phone right now. Yeah, as of right now, in the current driver point standings, Josh Berry currently sends fourth in points with 5 top 5s and 8 top 10s and 1 stage win. So far, a solid season. I just really think it's only a matter of time before he gets in the victory lane in the Xfinity Series. So that's all I have to really say. But yeah, Josh Berry, I totally did not see that one coming. I don't know if he'll bring any of his Junior Motorsports sponsors with him. That being Bass Pro Shop, which is his primary, Tire Pros, Harrison Outdoor Wear, or whatever that store is called. You know, Josh Berry definitely has the backing behind him to fill pretty much a full-time season. You don't really need, like, in Josh Berry's case, you don't really need like one major giant big ass sponsor in order to fill out a season. I think that he will do just fine with those sponsors if he does decide to bring them up, because keep in mind, Busch Beer is probably expected to leave Stewart Haas Racing and go over to Trackhouse Racing primarily to be a primary sponsor for the one of Ross Chastain. That is the rumor as of right now. Don't worry, I don't think they're going to leave, even if their sales are declining after the recent I'm not even going to explain what's happening. I'm sure you guys have probably seen it. But recent sale and decline, you know, they're one of the premier sponsors in NASCAR. And yeah, I'm sure they're not going to leave the sport. And they're going to find a good driver in Ross Chastain to get that sponsor to. So, yeah, that's definitely the way that I see it as of right now. But yeah, if it does turn out to be Josh Berry, that will be a shock. And hopefully SHR has their future set. Yeah, they still have Eric Almirola in the tank car to worry about. I don't know if Riley Herbst is necessarily ready in the Cup Series, but we'll definitely see what happens. But yeah, that's all I have to really say about the whole Josh Berry SHR rumors. I think that they're becoming more and more true by the day. As for who to replace in the 8 car and the Junior Motorsports, I do have some sources that I'm not going to talk about. This is private, by the way, and I'm not. And these sources I do not know personally, but I do know some friends that have friends within the industry. Yeah, I definitely sound like one of those guys who say, "Oh, I know a guy who knows a guy," but trust me, it's this source has never gotten a thing wrong majority of the time, but they're saying that the potential driver of the number 8 car is going to be someone very surprising. I don't know who it is. I've not been told this, but just keep your eyes peeled, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, that's all the silly season talk that we have on this episode. Well, for this episode, I should say. Trust me, there's going to be plenty more down the line, especially with the whole Joe Gibbs racing and Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., if they want to resign or not. But yeah, let's just see how this goes. ladies and gentlemen. All right, so the next topic of this week's episode is regarding the TV deal. And, well, not necessarily regarding the TV deal, but the idea of NASCAR potentially going streaming, or AKA a potential streaming summer stretch. Yeah, all the real ones should know what the summer stretch is if you're an OG NASCAR fan like myself. The potential idea of a summer stretch streaming service coming to NASCAR in the near future. Obviously, streaming TV, ladies and gentlemen, we all know how mainstream it is. We all know, yeah, mainstream, no pun intended. We all know how big it is these days. Hulu has live sports, this, and that, YouTube TV, Peacock, you guys get the whole idea. And I think NASCAR is really starting to look into that potential area when it comes to the next television deal. Now, it is reported by Adam Stern that Fox and NBC are probably the two most likely to come back and do the new contract. Obviously, I was kind of expecting someone new, but at the same time, I'm fine with Fox and NBC. Fox needs to start caring a little bit more, but I'm not in the mood to talk about Fox right now. But the idea of NASCAR going streaming is definitely a very peculiar one. I will say that, and it's simply because of the fact of, are fans willing to pay a certain amount of money in order to stream races for a specific period of time? Like, I'm sure Fox and NBC, the regular channels, are going to get their main events. Fox is going to get the Daytona 500. NBC is going to get the championship race. Coke 600, Southern 500. This, and that. I'm sure they're going to get their big crown jewel events, right? But as of now, I'm kind of split on the whole idea of streaming TV, and I'm going to say why. Paying for races, I'm going to say why. Because it depends on how much it's going to be. If you're going to charge me $80 to watch a 7 to 8 race stretch during the summer on streaming TV, I don't really know if that's the really good option, because a lot of people can't really afford streaming TV. It's not necessarily a financial issue, so to speak, but it's mainly because of the fact of it's something that's been toyed with a lot lately. And are they going to come into fruition with it? You know what I mean? And and even streaming exclusive races is really risky as well, because you know you have to like, if you're going to stream it, I want it to be exclusively from NASCAR, because Peacock, Fox Sports Live, they're going to charge the hell out of you. Although it might not be much, but it may be something. But maybe NASCAR may make it cheaper. I don't know, but streaming only deals are something to. I know it may seem like I'm talking out of my ass and I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the whole streaming TV deal, but it's gonna be really hard to convince a lot of fans to really say, hey, get them to say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start paying. I'm gonna start streaming for these races that I'm gonna be watching, for for this period of time. But if it's very exclusive, then I don't know how that's gonna work. So yeah, but that's something to keep in mind for the next TV deal. I do think. I don't know who the potential streaming service could be. It could be Peacock. It could be Amazon TV. Um, you got to really offer something unique for the streaming side and still broadcast on cable outlets as well. You gotta keep it even in some way. So, yeah, I really don't have an opinion, as you can tell, on the whole streaming service. I mean, I'll still watch races depending on if I have to pay it or not. But yeah, you got to make it affordable. I'm just gonna leave it at that. All right, now let's get into a very shocking development that happened yesterday after, not yesterday afternoon, but 2 days ago. Um, you ever just sit in class, you know, your sixth period government class, right? Just sit down. You've already completed your work because you're a good kid and all that. You're just playing on your phone, and then you randomly see you're in one of your like NASCAR Discord servers, right? And then you randomly see a tweet from Bob Pockrass saying that Legacy Motor Club will switch from Chevrolet to Toyota in 2024. I'm gonna keep it real. When someone shared that into the server and they showed it to me, I honestly thought it was a fake tweet. Let me explain because if you've been keeping up with Twitter lately, if you haven't, I really don't blame you. Twitter is a toxic place. I still don't know why I'm on there myself, but hey, go follow me, Carter underscore 614. but but no, if you've been keeping up with the whole verification news, Twitter's been taking away all the verifications from people who didn't actually pay for their verification. Because keep in mind, verification you have to pay for now on Twitter. Yeah, thanks, Elon Musk. Like, I'm really going to spend money on Twitter verification like that, like I'm some chumpless loser. So, but nah, anyways, but the fact is that a lot of people could create fake accounts and post them. Like, just a couple weeks ago, even like, I think it was like the week before Talladega, someone shared this what seemed to be Joe Gibbs Racing's Twitter page saying that breaking news: Denny Hamlin will not return to the team in 2024. I honestly thought it was real. I thought it was um pretty real to say the least. A lot of people got a hold of it, but it turned out not to be the real Joe Gibbs Racing account. So yeah, because I've gotten so used to seeing the blue check mark on accounts and thinking that they're verified. But yeah, it just doesn't work like that anymore, I guess. But enough about the whole Twitter thing. But the tweet was real. It was the real Bob Pockrass, and yeah, Legacy Motor Club switching to Toyota next year. Noah Gragson and Eric Jones, welcome back to Toyota. Two former Toyota drivers reunite once again. The lineup is expected to be the same next year, from what I've heard. And let me just break down this whole thing. Wow. I totally did not see this one coming. This was definitely not on my bingo card, to say the least. It's the fact that Jimmy Johnson has been a longtime Chevy driver. With Rick Hendrick and all that shit. Yeah, he did go do when he did go do IndyCar for about a year. Um, he was a Honda driver, but he went back to Chevy with Legacy Motor to create Legacy Motor Club. And you would think that it would just stay the same. It would just be a Chevy organization. However, this year for Legacy Motor Club, we can all agree that it's been kind of a disappointment after the potential that we saw last year, especially with the 43 of Eric Jones. Even after winning the Southern 500, um, which Eric Jones, I mean, he's just go to that Darlington. I'm sorry, but even after seeing that when it was still called Petty GMS at the time. We thought that this team was going to go to Gray Heights this year, and we actually had really decent expectations for Legacy Motor Club, and so far they have not met those expectations. This could turn around. Obviously, it's only 11 races in the year, but so far it's not been looking good. So far, Eric Jones and rookie Noah Gragson are currently sitting 24th and 32nd in points. Yeah, not fantastic. I will say the least. It's not great at all. Um, but what do I think of this move? Actually, in my opinion, I think that this move to Toyota actually really helps them. Let me explain. First off, when you look at majority of teams in the garage. It's no matter if it's the Cup Series, Xfinity, Truck Series, you will find that majority of the teams are Chevrolet. And most of those teams rely on each other. Let's look at the Cup Series. That's mainly what we're talking about. But the Cup Series, you have Hendrick Motorsports, you have Richard Childress Racing, you have the still brand new Trackhouse Racing, you have Colleague Racing. You have a ton of Chevy teams that kind of rely off each other. I believe RCR and Team Trackhouse have some kind of technical alliance to them. Correct me if I'm wrong. But like they they definitely share a lot of info with each other. They're although being independent Chevy teams, they're still Chevy makes. They still work together sometimes, and they rely off each other. And Legacy Motor Club, I feel like, has really gotten the short end of the stick. I feel like that they aren't really getting the Chevy support that they necessarily need. And it's kind of sad because I was expecting them to really do some decent things. Mainly Eric Jones, Noah Gragson. I didn't really have that big of expectations. I expected them to have the kind of typical rookie year. I think he's having the below typical rookie year because of how kind of bleh he's been running so far. So but this whole Toyota move, in my opinion, I think will really help out because um I think they're going to get a lot more help considering that, well, Toyota teams in the Cup Series, there's only two. There's Joe Gibbs Racing, the top dog, and then there's the sidekick, 2311 Racing. And we've seen in the past how side Toyota teams have not worked out in the past. Furniture Row Racing, even though they won a championship with Martin Truex Jr., they shut down. Levian Family Racing, even though they had tremendous potential to win in the Cup Series with either Matt DiBenedetto or Christopher Bell, they shut down as well. So what makes 2311 so different? Well, they have a lot more leverage. They have a lot more sponsors. They have a bigger owner. You know, they have a lot more media attention behind them. But that's not about 2311 Racing. But yeah, mainly those teams got support from Joe Gibbs Racing, and it just didn't work out. Now, from what I understand from a tweet by Kelly Crandall, is that Maury Gallagher talked about to David Wilson that Legacy Motor Club wants to be their own independent Toyota team. They do not want any affiliation with Joe Gibbs Racing, which I'm not saying wouldn't be a bad thing. I think definitely having some, listen, um, teams relying on each other is never a bad thing. It definitely helps to have some parts and have some affiliation with some other teams, share, info and stuff like that. But I think them being their own independent team and not worrying about how, you know, the idea of possibly going bankrupt is a good idea because I don't think Legacy is going to go bankrupt. I definitely think that they have a lot more leverage than Levine Family Racing or Furniture Row. Even though Furniture Row won a championship, I definitely think that they have a lot more backing. They have Allegiant, they have Sunseeker Resorts, they have a ton of sponsors to work with. Black Rifle Coffee Company, I definitely think that they have a lot more leverage on them. So I definitely think that they can stay in the future as long as Jimmy's in business with them, which a lot of people are like, oh, Jimmy's running this franchise to the ground. I don't believe that's necessarily true. I think, keep in mind, guys, this is the first year that Jimmy Johnson is really doing something like this, being majority owner of a team with Richard Petty by his side, which Richard, he ain't getting any younger. And, he has to take full control. And Maury Gallagher, you know, he wants to win now. He wants to be a contender now. And I think with this move that Legacy will definitely be benefited from that. I think that they will be a really good priority to Toyota. I think David Wilson and TRD will take really good care of them. I'm not believing that they will go bankrupt. First of all, those two are just coincidences. I'm not saying that just to shrug it off because I want to see Legacy succeed. I want to see both Noah Gragson and Eric Jones succeed, and I think they will. I think they'll be performance-wise better. I don't think they're going to be transformed into a championship caliber team yet, but I definitely think that performance wise they could possibly get better. I mean, they could still turn it around this year. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, NASCAR seasons could get very unpredictable at times, but you know, I think this will definitely help them. So that's what I think. And that's all I have to say about the whole Legacy Motor Club to Toyota deal. Hopefully it works out for them. I don't know as of yet if the GMS Racing Truck Series team that has drivers such as Grant Enfinger, Rajat Kruth, and Daniel Dye, I don't know if that Truck Series team will switch to Toyota as well. I want to assume that they do because I believe Kelly Crandall also reported that um, Maury Gallagher said that they would have to switch to Toyota as well because he would not be able to work with two teams like that. So, um, I want to say that they will I want to say that they will switch as well. But it's um it's not confirmed as of yet. So I will assume that they will. Man, those are just loving when families in the background ruining everything. So, but yeah, I want to assume that they will switch as well because I mean, like I said, Maury Gallagher, he owns majority of that team, and he also owns majority of Legacy Motor Club. So I mean, it goes hand in hand. I mean, hell, when Kyle Busch moved to RCR, he had to switch his whole truck team to Chevrolet. So I mean, it only makes sense. And that would be a lack of Chevy teams in the truck series because there's a lot of Fords. You already have a major truck series team in Tricon Garage, which is Toyota's main truck series team. And they've done a lot of things as well. I mean, they've had a lot of drivers come in as well. I mean, Lane Riggs, Kaz Gralla, they have a lot of young talent behind them. And GMS Racing, who is supposedly the top dog at Chevy, well, quite frankly, they're not the top dog anymore as of late. In my opinion, the top dog as of right now with Chevy and the Truck Series team is Bill McAnally Racing with Christian Eckes so far. Um, but yeah, that's all I have to really say about the whole Legacy Motor Club Toyota deal. Hopefully, it works out for them. Wish them the best of luck and welcome back to Toyota, Noah Gragson and Eric Jones. So technically, Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs are technically teammates. Funny how that works, right? Oh man, the irony, the irony. So let's get into some. This is going to be the little news segment of the story as we're approaching the end of this episode. I only have like two little news stories to talk about. Austin Dillon's appeal. The whole Richard Childress Racing appeal got denied. Shocker. Moving on. And we also have a very interesting start this weekend. Tony Breidinger, the ARCA Menards Series driver from Venturini Motorsports in the 55. She will be making her Truck Series debut in the number one Victoria's Secret truck. The 23-year-old is making her Truck Series debut. She's not really put on the best stats when it comes to ARCA. But who knows? Maybe she might show out in her Truck Series debut. She might have something. Who knows? But wish the best of luck to her. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are getting into the final part of the episode, and that's where we look ahead to Kansas Speedway this upcoming weekend. The Trucks and Cup Series are heading there this weekend as well as ARCA. Looking into this race, I think that you're definitely going to look at the drivers who have been really strong on mile and a half for the past few years. And one team in particular that you have to look out for, and they have won the last two Kansas races, and that is 2311 Racing, mainly the 45 car. And so far, the driver of the 45 car has been two different drivers for 2311 Racing. You had Kurt Busch, who we didn't know would win his final career Cup Series race in the 45 at Kansas. And then you had Bubba Wallace, who was driving the 45 to win the Owners' Championship last year, that being his second career win. And he actually really had really good speed that year. And he got better as the year went on. So does Tyler Reddick continue that trend of drivers in the 45 car winning at Kansas. Can he be the third different driver to win the 45? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Statistics say yes, but we'll get into the picks here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know the name of the truck race for Saturday night exactly, but as for the driver who I think will win the Truck Series race, I've actually really looked at drivers who have ran strong here at Kansas, and I was gonna go for an underdog pick, but I'm gonna go with a more realistic pick, and I'm gonna go with Zane Smith to pick up his third win of the year. Yes, history is repeating itself. Zane Smith exactly replicating the first three wins of the season that he has had in 2022. He won the season opener at Daytona. He won at Coda. He won at Kansas. 3 wins. So far this year, he won at Daytona. He won at Coda. Does this mean he's going to win at Kansas again? I would like to bet a lot of my money that he will. So yeah, Zane Smith is my pick for the Truck Series race this weekend at Kansas. Now let's get into the Cup race, the Advent Health 400. It's the 12th race of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Like I said, you got to look out for drivers who have been really strong on mile and a halves. You have Tyler Reddick, you have Kyle Larson. Hell, you even have Bubba Wallace, who's been strong on mile and a half tracks. I mean, his only top five has been at Las Vegas. Well, there have been other tracks where he's been kind of I think mile and a halves have been sort of a strong suit so far. He will just casually tiptoe to the front, and no one will technically bat an eye at it, or they will bat an eye at it, but it's not really talked about a whole lot. However, I'm not picking Bubba Wallace. I will say that Bubba will probably sneak into the top 10 and get a good finish because he's due for a good run. Again, that 23 team has been known for starting out slow but getting better and better as the season goes on. So we'll see how that goes later on for them. But as my pick, I am going to go with his teammate. Yep, I am believing the hype. I think that Tyler Reddick will get his second win of the year for 2311 Racing, and he will complete the cycle of 3 different drivers in the 45 car winning at Kansas. Tyler Reddick so far has been really strong this year. He won at Coda. So far, he currently sits, I believe. Let's just check the point standings here. I know I keep checking. I should really have this written down, ladies and gentlemen. But as of right now, Tyler Reddick currently sits 6th in the regular season point standings and 5th in playoff points. So far, he has 1 win, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 2 stage wins. For his first season at 2311 Racing, very good so far. I mean, man, so far, drivers in their new homes have been really doing well. Kyle Busch already has 2 wins with RCR, and Tyler Reddick already making a name for himself at 2311 Racing. Denny Hamlin said it. That's why I signed him. So, yeah, in my opinion, Tyler Reddick will get the job done this weekend at Kansas Speedway. I think 2311 Racing has gotten not just Kansas Speedway down, but mile and a halves as a whole down as well. So, yeah, that is my pick to win this weekend at Kansas Speedway. Those are my picks, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't like my picks, oh well, then you can just flat out not agree with me. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know. It's another episode by myself. But yeah, I will start to bring in more guests, ladies and gentlemen. I will still start to invite more people onto the show, not the current cast, but start getting more people involved, making guest appearances, this and that. Not drivers, but friends of mine, ladies and gentlemen. And I've been really working hard with this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not just going to let this go to waste. I want to have people on here. I don't want to just keep talking about myself because, let's be real, I don't think really people really like my commentary all that much. But, yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for the little quick pause right there, guys. I wasn't finished with my outro. Someone came in and texted me. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been the Checkers Records podcast, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.